I grew up, as you know, you've met my mother, you've met my father, and so you know I grew up in the church, and we were in the church all the time. So then we went to Sunday school on Sunday mornings, we went to worship, and late Sunday mornings into the afternoon, and every now and then there would be an afternoon service we would have to go to, we'd have to sing in and be a part of. Throughout the week, we'd have to go to a Bible study or a choir practice or a prayer meeting. On Saturdays, there would be a choir rehearsal for the youth and for the children, and getting ready back for Sunday morning. I did a lot of church, and so by going to church a lot, we learned a lot about God. And I remember growing up as a child, one of the things that always stuck with me was learning the 10 Commandments. Anybody know about learning the 10 Commandments? Amen, amen, the 10 Commandments, the 10 Commandments. And I remember growing up and having to read and recite the 10 Commandments. I remember at Vacation Bible School in the summer having to learn the 10 Commandments and being one of the ones that would want to stand up and I can say the 10 Commandments without having to read them on a piece of paper. I was so proud to learn the 10 Commandments. I remember learning the 10 Commandments when learning about how the text says, the scripture says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Don't have any other gods. I remember the 10 Commandments saying, don't make unto yourself any graven image. Don't make an idol to worship. You only are supposed to worship me. I learned in the 10 Commandments, do not use the Lord's name in vain. I learned in the 10 Commandments to keep the Sabbath day, observe the Sabbath day, remember the Sabbath day, and to keep it holy. I learned in the 10 Commandments to honor my mother and my father. As a child, that seemed like a very difficult commandment to keep. But now I know the importance. Learn to respect your mother, learn to honor your mother and your father. I remember in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. I remember in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. I remember in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness. Don't lie to people. I remember in the 10 Commandments, don't be envious of your neighbor's goods or what your neighbors have. But the commandment that I remember the most growing up was thou shalt not steal. I remember thou shalt not steal. I remember the fear of God being instilled in me, that if I stole anything, God was not happy. So I remembered I would not steal anything. But what I learned over time is that never stopped anyone from stealing from me. Though I was scared to steal anything from anyone, that never stopped anybody from stealing from me. It didn't stop my brothers or my sisters from stealing my toys and taking my things and putting them somewhere else so I couldn't find them. It didn't stop people from getting in the refrigerator and taking the food that I was trying to save for myself. It didn't stop somebody at school from taking a pencil from me or taking a book from me that I needed to use. It didn't stop anyone from taking things from me. And I keep wondering, don't you fear God? Don't you know if you steal, you are breaking one of the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments said, thou shalt not steal, but that never stopped anybody from stealing anything. As we look at the world that we are in, it seems like sometimes even stealing is celebrated. My son plays video games and he's wanting me to get him the video game Grand Theft Auto. I mean, that's the video game where you practice stealing cars. It seems like everybody's okay with stealing things. You know, even when we look at the life of this country, look at international and what businesses and corporations are doing, it seems like they're stealing from us each and every day, funding their operations, funding their wealth, funding their riches, stealing from the poor so that the rich can just get richer and the poor can get poor. Elections are stolen all across this country and all across the world where we're supposed to be democratic societies where votes are supposed to matter. But it seems votes don't matter if the people who are in power keep stealing all of these elections. Don't they fear God? Don't we fear God? God said, thou shalt not steal. But my sisters and my brothers, with all this stealing going on and all this breaking of the 10 Commandments going on, I need to be reminded every now and then that people may be able to steal a lot of things from us, but they can't steal our joy. They may be able to steal many things from us, but they can't steal our joy, because our joy comes from the Lord who makes heaven and earth. There's a new music group, a new band that I started listening to called the Ezra Collective. They are from the United Kingdom, and they have an album out that came out this past year called You Can't Steal My Joy. And as I mentioned before, so now I've become a vinyl collector, so I don't have to get the digital version. I get the digital version so I can play it on the phone and in the car, but I also now have to get the vinyl album because I like it, because there's nothing like pulling out a vinyl record and then opening up and then reading the liner notes and looking at the pictures, and it becomes a full multi-sensory experience if you buy and listen to music on a vinyl record. So I purchased the vinyl record of the Ezra Collective, You Can't Steal My Joy, and I opened up the album. You had pictures of all the band members who are from all over the world. They're from Nigeria, they're from South Asia, and they're from England, and from Jamaica, and they're from all over. So I'm opening up, and it's like a family portrait, like a family album of pictures from their families. And again, they call themselves the Ezra Collective. But then I looked on the right side of the bar, and they had a message about what the title of the album comes from. And they said that we say you can't steal my joy. They said you can steal a lot of things from us. You can steal our ability to freely travel. You can steal our ability to have access to education. You can steal our access to a level playing field. You can steal our ability to live a life to its full potential. But as long as we don't forget our core truth, then you can't steal our joy. As long as we don't forget that we are created by God, and God is with us and God is within us, then you can't steal our joy. As long as we don't forget the truth of who God is for us, then you can't steal our joy. People may steal a whole lot of things, but if we are rooted in the promises of God, then they can't steal our joy.
Yeah.
The Apostle Paul was writing to Timothy, trying to help Timothy to understand that if you have God's joy within you, then they can't steal your joy. The Apostle Paul wrote this letter. He wrote this epistle from prison. This was the last letter that Paul wrote before he was executed by the Roman Empire. This is the last letter Paul wrote, and he wrote this to his mentee, Timothy. Paul writes this letter from prison in these terrible conditions, trying to give Timothy some encouragement, because Timothy is going through a difficult time. Timothy is going through a hard time. Timothy is going through a time where he feels like he is about to crack because of all the pressure that he is under. And Paul says, I've been there. Actually, I'm in that same place right now. I know what you're going through. But Paul writes to Timothy, I thank God whom I serve as my ancestors did, with a clear conscience as night and day. I constantly remember you, Timothy, in my prayers, recalling your tears. I long to see you so that I may be filled with joy. I know you're going through a difficult time. I know you're going through a difficult period. I know it's a persecuting time for you, but I'm praying for you, and I long to see you so that I can be filled with joy. Paul says, I'm reminded of your sincere faith, the faith that first lived in your grandmother Lois, in your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded now lives in you. Don't you know your grandmother went through some things? Your grandmother went through some things that you could only imagine, but she kept the faith. Your mama went through some things that you can only imagine, but she kept the faith. Your grandmama went through it, your mama went through it, and you're going through it right now. The same faith that got them through is the same faith that will get you through, and you need to know that faith is within you. Paul wants Timothy to know that he can handle it, he can hold it, he can push through it, because his mama did, and his grandmama did, and our ancestors did. Paul says, for this reason I remind you to fan the flame of the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid. The Spirit God gave us is not a spirit of fear, but the Spirit God gives us is of power and of love and of self-discipline. And I like it when it says, where I grew up, in a sound mind. The Spirit that God gives us will help you get through. Paul's been through some things. Paul's going through something right now. Paul said, because of the faith that's in me and the faith that's in you, God will bring you through. The hope is in you. The joy is in you, and they can't steal your joy.
Amen.
Because the joy of the Lord is your strength. Reminds me of There's another artist who goes by the name of Michelle Ndegeocello. She's from Washington, D.C., and she had a song called Steal My Soul. And in that song, she said, I'm here, I'm free, despite the evil that surrounds me, because the soul is the purest treasure of the heart, and you can't steal what you ain't got. You can't steal my soul, because God has my soul. And so long as God has my soul, you can't steal my soul. You can't make the soul, because the soul comes from God. We came from God, and we're going to go back to God. So you can take everything else from me, but you can't take my spirit from me, because my spirit don't belong to me anyway. It belongs to God. Dr. Maya Angelou said, I know why the caged bird sings. Because even though the caged bird may be inside of that prison, even though the caged bird may not be able to fly, the song that caged bird can sing can extend beyond the cages out into the world. So y'all gonna hear me even if y'all gonna lock me down. Y'all gonna hear me sing about the goodness of the Lord even when y'all trying to hold me back. My voice will carry beyond the place where I am, because God is everywhere I am and more. That's why she said, I know why the caged bird sings. That's why we sing, why should I feel discouraged? Why should while the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? Because Jesus is my portion. A constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. Because I know God watches over everybody else. I know God watches over everything else. And I know God is the keeper of my soul. You can take everything else from me, but you can't steal my joy, because God is with me. The song says, I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. My sisters and brothers, they can take a whole lot from you. They can try to take your name from you, but they can't take your joy. They can take a whole lot from you. They might take some money from you, but they can't take your joy. They might try to do a grand theft auto and take your car. But even if they take your car, they can't take away your joy, because they can't take away your God.
Amen.
And because God is with you, who can be against you? They can't steal your joy because of the faith that your mama had and the faith that your grandmother had, because their faith was in them. That same faith, Paul says, is within you. As I read this scripture, and Paul is writing to Timothy, he says something interesting. Paul is writing from prison, sending a letter to his mentee Timothy, who was in another place, letting him know encouragement that can only come from the Lord. And then Paul says, I'm going to remind you to fan and to flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of hands. And I found that to be interesting. Paul, you in prison. You're writing a letter to Timothy. How are you going to fan the flame within Timothy when Timothy is in another place? How are you going to fan the flame through the laying on of hands if you're in two different places and you locked up inside a prison? How are you going to lay on hands? I think what Paul wanted Timothy to know, I think what Paul wanted to assure Timothy of is, even though he might have been locked in a cage like that caged bird, he wanted Timothy to know that whatever he was going through at the moment, the hand of God had not left him. Amen. He wanted Timothy to know that I might be in another place and you might not be able to hear my voice, but God's voice is still speaking to you. He wanted Timothy to know, as you read this letter, know that the hands of God are on both of your shoulders. The hands of God are lifting you up. The hands of God are raising you up. The hands of God have never left you. My sisters and my brothers, when God's faith, you know, is in you and everybody trying to take everything from you, my sisters and my brothers, you need to know that the hand of God is on you right now.
Amen.
The hand of God is holding you up when you can't hold yourself up. The hand of God is keeping you close when nobody one else is around to give you a hug and hold you close and let you know that you are loved. The hand of God is always with you because God's faith is inside of you. The world can try to take everything from you, but the joy that we have, the world didn't give it to us, and the world can't take it away.
Amen.
So my sisters and brothers, stand firm, knowing that whatever the trial is, whatever the tribulation is, whatever the struggle is, whatever the hurt is, whatever the weight that you are carrying, you don't carry that weight by yourself. But the hand of God is right behind you, holding that weight up with you. I don't know about you, but I can carry a little bit more weight if I know I had some help holding that weight up. I don't know about you, but my legs can get a little bit stronger if I know that somebody else is helping to hold that weight with me. Y'all ever heard those stories about folks who get caught in accidents and caught under cars, and then out of nowhere they get superhuman strength to push themselves out of a situation where they should not be able to push hundreds of pounds above their body weight, but because of the Spirit of God, they find the strength to push those things off their body. My sisters and my brothers, the hands of God are holding you up and helping you to hold that weight, so that through it all, because you know God is with you, the world may try to tear you down, but they can't steal your joy.
Amen.
They can't steal your faith. They can't steal your peace. You are here. You are free despite the evil that's around you, because the soul is the purest treasure of the heart, and they can't steal what they ain't got. So long as you give your soul to God and you know God is in you, they can't steal your joy. Amen, amen, and amen. Amen. They can't steal it. They can't steal it. Some of us